Welcome back, and we are going right into our next conversation of the day. We're going to be looking at the church and democracy in Nigeria. And we have right here in the studio with us Reverend Francis Agu. He is a clergy and humanitarian worker. Good morning, Father.
God bless you, my sister.
Bless you too.
Thank you.
So, as we know, the church is a moral institution, and it has significant influence. So, what role exactly does the church have in a democratic society like Nigeria?
Well, thank you, my sister, for inviting me or start asking me to. You need to look at what is the church and what is democracy, what is governance. These three component things will not give you what the church is, because church does not exist in a vacuum. Church operates within the community, and the interpretation of church as ecclesia, people, believers of Christ, who now preach gospel of salvation to men from what they learned from the Master Jesus. And you look at the term of democracy as a system of government. If we want to borrow a leaf from the most popular definition of democracy as government of the people, for the people, and by the people, you now look at the closeness or friendship between the government, the democracy aspect, and the church. Well, they say that they are talking about the society. The society, the people, human beings. Because the church operates where there are human beings. Democracy operates where there are human beings. So, each goes among itself. None will go separate of itself. Then, if you want to look at the relationship between democracy and the church, if you study it very well, you find that here in Nigeria, for example, because I continue to look at 1999 to 2025, 25 years old human being. How far? Have we gotten it right? Are we sincerely on it? What is the impact? Has the church been able to influence the governance system of the society to give democracy a meaning? Or has democracy been hijacked? Because if we are really seeing what democracy as what it ought to be, democracy should be at the part of making people to feel belonging. Or that's what church is. Church makes the people to feel belonging. Church takes care of people. Give people the little needs, the spiritual needs. Get people close to God. Make people to now feel, yes, we have a spirit being who is watching all of us. Democracy at that point also should also be an avenue for people to look at the rules of law, the engagement of understanding, freedom, social amenities. But those things are not there. Those things are not there. I was just coming from Algeria this morning, and at some point I was asking myself, from 1999 to 2025, the issue of constructing Enugu-Onitsha Road is still on the process from one patch point to another patch point. I mean, look at those things. And each time some people will come to do campaign, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. I'm going to represent you. Now, are we now seeing that sincere representative on that aspect? Then even the church as well. Mm-hmm. Some of the church leaders, where are they? I know there was a time in this state that was actually like the church was on fire. That some persons will always talk about the church, the leadership in the governance. And at some point, it seems that some person who wants to talk were no more talking now. And the church has been relegated by the corner. The church is a mouthpiece of the poor. The church is a silent agent of revolution. The church should stand as an arbiter between the government and the governance.
But do you think that the church is actively involved in politics as it is now? Or are they just, on the sidelines, just, watching?
No, they are not actually involved from what I'm seeing. Because of, see, now, who are the church? We are the church. The church are human beings. But you look at the mindset, the understanding. When one is just a church member without understanding the purpose of why you are where you are. Because if you look at the church and democracy, you now begin to ask yourself some questions. Those are the point of leadership. How did they even get there? Were they there because they are the wish of the masses? Or were they there because they forced themselves into it? So, once they force themselves into it, the church will not have anything not to do on that aspect because they have separated themselves from the church at the initial stage. If it were to be in the sense that the church was part of it, trying to look at this person is contesting for councillorship election, for example, what are his qualities? What are his background? Where did he come from? What were he known of before now? You look at the record clearly. And the church can now tell the populace, okay, please follow this one. This is the person we can attest of at the end of the day. But there is a missing gap between the democracy we are practicing and the way it ought to be by bringing the church closer to it. So it seems that the church has just gone by the side and then be watching. And that is not the best.
Yeah, which brings me to ask, do you think the church leaders are telling the truth to power? Are they actually being honest and truthful? Or would you say they've gone silent and are now, praise singing instead?
That praise singing has been there. The praise singing has been there. But where we lost it is that because the leaders, the political leaders, they knew who are there to direct them or correct them when they are going the other way. So what they would do at the first instance is to go influencing that person, so such people. Now, when they get influencing them with little one or two things, when the time comes for that young man now or the old man to come out to say, no, you have done it wrong this way, he may not have the moral right to do it. But if the church leaders would now stand firm to say, no, take what we bring from you, have it yourself. Let's go to the field. Now, church leaders now coming out to tell the people, this is the right way to do it. And let's go to the right way as doing it. So that at the end of the day, the church leaders will not own the politicians any apology. The politicians will not own the church leaders any apology. All of us will come at the center of looking at ourselves eyeball to eyeball to see, my friend, this is why you got it wrong. This is why you got it right. But that kind of system, for me, has been messed up. And until we go back to the drawing board, whereby the church, the leadership of the church, will now know that at the end of the day, the masses who are following the church leaders will be at the receiving end of it. I ever had my friend who just finished with you talking about the economic factor. That is it. So the church leaders are there. These followers, are they feeling better? Are they really enjoying this democracy that is of the people, for the people, and by the people? Is it having an impact on them positively? How long shall we continue this direction? That means the church must come up. I was discussing with somebody that I told the person, democracy is not what we think it is. Politics is not what we think it is. Politics, to me, is interest and influence. When you have interest on something and we're able to influence it, we are doing politics, even in your kitchen. When you talk about democracy in the real sense, it has to do with the people, feeling of the people, looking at the pulse of the people, having the people at the forefront of your mind at the initial stage. But today, selfishness has taken over. And because selfishness has taken over, we have eventually killed democracy. So if you should not be worried with me, I will tell you what we are presenting today is democracy. Democracy in the sense that psychologically everybody is mad. Both the leadership and the followership, everybody is just going on their way.
But do you think, or will you say that there has been an attempt to suppress or silence the church from coming out to, perform their duties in the political space in the country?
I may not say it that there yes or no, but I will say that the problem we have in that aspect from our observation is that the leadership of church has not come to agree among themselves. Even the Bible said that unless two agree, they cannot go together. The church, we should stop all the denominational issues. This person is a Roman Catholic, this one is an Anglican, this one is from Presbyterian, this one is from Assemblies of God. What is church? Believers in Christ. Ecclesia. People who were called out, who are followers of Christ. That's the church. So until we now relegate this idea of denominational issues in what we are doing, we're going to suffer it. Because if we know that what we are fighting for is for the simple interest of the citizenry, if we want to play that game as what Christ did, dying for the people, removing self from the journey, removing self from the game, then we shall get there. But if we continue on this aspect whereby maybe somebody who can give a better idea on what to be done is from maybe one ministry like that, and some of the guys from the other, Orthodox churches or these first mainline churches, I begin to look at the person as what can he offer? Service oriented. Service oriented. Taking out that which you want to of yourself, thinking of what is there, the need of the next person. And that's the way we must go. If not that, we're just wasting our time.
Yes, and we also know that sometimes the church can be apolitical, not wanting to go so deep into, political affairs. They just, rather come from it from a religious angle. Now, can you speak on that? Because some people would say that the church should not be involved so much so in politics.
I've told you before, what is politics? Interest and influence. If a particular individual is interested in contesting for an election, for example, he comes from a church. There is a denomination he comes from. And if he is coming out to stand as a Christian, he should not divert of that denominational interest. So that when he comes out, he is coming out as a Christian. Maybe not even a born-again Christian who knows Christ, who can come out and defend the truth in the name of finding the focus of the eternity.
So you will recommend more Christians going into politics?
Yes, of course.
But the people in politics are Christians.
No. This is my problem. That they have this baptismal name, but when you look at the character, they have this baptismal name. My name is Francis, all right? I was baptized in the church, all right? But when you look at the quality of my product, is it Christianized? Until we understand it in that form, where our Christianity or our Christian life will be to serve, giving out that which God has, given us. There's an embodiment in us. There's a gift in us. There are destinies in our hands that God has given to us. How do we not use it? To the service of God and humanity. Because when we talk about the service of God and humanity, there the service of God is where the church comes in. Humanity is where democracy comes in.
Okay, and now it seems as if that instead of the church influencing society, it's the other way around. Yes. Society is influencing the church. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so can you speak more on that?
Why is it that way? Is that the church is the ladder to the things of God. The church is the ladder to the spiritual things. But the society we are, because of the level of economic hardship, even the church leaders are struggling to survive. And while they're struggling to survive, they have been influenced by the society, living out their primary assignment. Because church can rebuke a wrongdoing person, even at the utmost level, whichever level the person is, and still stand and say, yes, this is wrong, this is right. And you know that sometimes when you accuse somebody that is doing wrong or right, he may come on for self-defense. The church will also stand to defend herself. So that when our political leaders goes the other way around, the church can stand up to say, no, this thing you have done, you have not done it to the best interest of these people. When you talk about the government of the people, for the people, and by the people, as democracy is. But if church cannot stand to that direction, we will continue to be tossing around, floating. And in short, what I'm seeing church doing today, the church is just floating. Because the leadership had not stood their ground to say, no, it's not this way. Yes, those persons that were baptized Christians, church members that were there in the powers, in the authorities, they should also create a room for constructive criticisms from the church leaders. They should not be afraid of anything. But at some point, they were afraid that when they get church involved in what they are doing, what they are doing, that the church may be able to see the down deep of their nonsense. But they should allow that church to be. And until we do that, we have not gotten it right. Because you cannot know it all. A good leader takes every rubbish around him. When people are talking about what you are doing as a leader, what you will do is just to, sit down at some point to evaluate those reactions. And at the point of that evaluations, we'll be able now to find out the way forward and what you should do to get things better. But in as much you are avoiding those criticisms around you, running out from them, blocking their ways to come close to you, things will continue to get haywire, and that's the problem.
Yes. Now let's look at the moral obligations of the church, because we already know that we have issues concerning political corruption and injustice. So what are those obligations that the church have regarding these issues that we currently face in the country?
Now, the other day I was here, I've talked about that if you look at, for example, education, it was the church that brought in education. And at some point, the administration of the education were hijacked from the church. The government hijacked it. And where have we gone today now? Have we achieved it? The answer is no. Because if the church is still close to education as they used to be, whereby a child will start within the mission control of the church in the educational system and grow with that idea, this child, a child of 25 years today, from 1999, who has grown under the control of the church, and a child who was just being trained within the societal level, you need to compare the two. So let those in government get down to the point of even begging the church to come in partnership with the education system. In Enugu State here, they were trying to do it, but sometimes, the way we're looking at it, it's not yet streamlined on what is happening. Because if the government will now take over payment of the teachers' salaries in the schools, in the mission schools, the mission founded schools, and then allow the church now to look at the administrative side of those schools, having something in common, that what we want to achieve is that we want to achieve to the point that at the end of the day, our children will be better off as the future leaders of society. And there we go. But the issue now is that the government on their own is afraid of the church. The church on their own is also afraid of the government. So there is no meeting point. And the children who are supposed to be trained in that moral way were now at the receiving end of it. It's just like when a family is, and the parents, the father and the mother were not in good relationship among each other, then what do you think about the children? But if the father and the mother were in love, in relationship with each other, the children will be monitoring from them, looking at them, learning from them.
Yeah, and we know that most political participants or politicians visit churches, particularly during campaigns and things like that. Now, would you say that politicians have used churches for their political gain, or to boost their political standing in society?
What I want to say on that aspect is that they may have not used it to boost their political standing, but they are looking for people to influence to vote for them. Because the church is where they will meet the people. But the only problem I'm having is that after the church has made up their mind to vote, at the end of the day, you will not see the vote count. I can give you instances of the ones I have been part of, participated seriously, looking at individuals. This is whom we want. This is whom we wanted to vote for. This is the person that can deliver. And at the end of the day, what we did was not there. It didn't work. So, because if it has worked, you can say that church has a better share of what has happened. But it didn't work. And it goes down to what I was trying to tell you, that if we want to get it right, let there be that relationship between the church and the government, down to the educational system, whereby the church will now be recognized as a training partner for the betterment of the society.
Okay. And now let's look at, youth involvement, because, we've seen that youths are not particularly so much so interested seeing the way things turn out, in the democratic processes and the system. So does the church play any role when it comes to mobilizing the young people to participate and to show interest in participating in, civic responsibilities like voting and all other things like that?
I can still tell you the past electoral campaign, I know the extent I participated on it. Youths were involved. But if we are really talking about democracy in principle, in what it is, these youths who were graduates and the grandfather was still there in Civil Service Commission, changing his date of birth and or whatever age through affidavit. Somebody maybe who is 75 years of age is still there carrying file all around in the office as a civil servant. Why those youths who are like 35, 40, 25, 27, who are graduates, who are there roaming in the street? Which mind do we want them to now come in with? Until we begin to give them that sense of inclusiveness. Until we begin now to recognize that, yeah, it is time for me to withdraw. Let these persons take over from me. You hand over the mantle. But if it is just to use the youth at the time of electionary campaign, use the youth to snatch the ballot box and whatever, and then relegate them by the corner. As a prison chaplain, if you come to the prisons, you see many of our youth there. When you interview them, you know why they were there, how they come.
Okay. And finally, before we let you go, how can the church come together with, other religions, both the traditional and, the other religious communities to, influence democratic development in the country?
I don't know whether it will be possible. This is a frankly speaking of the thing, because I know we have Christian Association of Nigeria, we have also CC and Christian Council of Nigeria. You have all these sorts of organizations. Why? Why are they even able to come together as one umbrella to talk about influencing these things? It is what I call reorientation that will matter most. Let us go back to the drawing board and look at ourselves 26 years after. Where are we? What have we achieved? Let us do evaluations of what we've achieved, from where we are coming from and where we are going, so that we can tell ourselves the best truth. That if the church will come in to be part of the governance, we must take away the denominational interest and talk about the society, human being, welfare of the citizenry. And today we can get it right. But if we still have it in mind that maybe when this set of denomination gets in there, every political appointment, every post, every distance is being given to them, and other ones will be coming out as beggars, the struggle will continue.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Reverend Francis Agu, clergy and humanitarian worker, speaking on the church and democracy in Nigeria. Thank you so much.
God bless you, my sister.
God bless you
it's
too.
It's a pleasure coming to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.